Today is August 1st, I do believe, 2020. And this morning, um, no, I said it's noon time. I'm still in quite a lot of pain in my upper back, and I may have to lift my arms from time to time because I have to lift the bones up off the nerves. So do that first. I don't know if it can be caught on the video. The sounds of my back cracking. I would think that I'd have to put it closer to my back, but then of course I'd be putting the camera where the bookcase is, and maybe not even getting an accurate sound at all. One of these days I'll demonstrate the bones cracking in my back. I don't think everybody can do that. I think it's just a few people who have broken backs who can do that. And having a broken back is really not easy to live with, especially for the long time that is closing in on 20 years of constant, minute by minute, without reprieve, pain. So it's a marathon. And even the supplements and so on that I take, well, a probiotic really does take the edge off the pain, so I could say that. Hydration is really helpful, and that's what a probiotic does. I still remember that a PBS special where this woman quoted this quote saying, excuse me, saying, the path to perfect health is paved with good intestines. And so that's what I do. Is I take also 2 oils, omega-3, and lecithin. And lecithin does cushion the nerves as well. I do have a bottle of MSM, but I think there might be some shellfish in it, so I don't take that because I'm allergic to shellfish. I tried all my life long to be part of my family, who can really enjoy shellfish and lobster, clams, and so on. But it's just my body type. I can't eat those bottom feeders. Yeah, it's kind of biblical. You're not supposed to eat bottom feeders, right? It doesn't sound very good either. Let's see. Do I need to adjust this? So there's some clarity that I have to make about those things that I have said so far. Wanted to say that this misdiagnosis that someone is called mentally ill and then put on these medications, it's not unique to me that a physical injury turned into something that doctors got wrong and decided to drug the hell out of it. And what happens is that even an antidepressant is used for treating pain these days. That's what my new doctor has said. Oh, well, yeah, we give antidepressants to chronic pain patients. And I said to him, that's really not a good idea. And thus far, he doesn't seem to, this new young doctor, he is not quite au courant to how harmful these drugs are. Some young doctors do know that it's not wise to give people antidepressants, even chronic pain patients. I mean, you think, well, an antidepressant is for depression, but no, they're treating people with pain on antidepressants, which will cause them cognitive decline, rapid cognitive decline, and will shorten their lives if they stay on it. So, you stay on those drugs and you do die relatively young. And like I said, I hope I have enough time to get out there and gain the mobility to become an advocate for those people who I know are really suffering with the effects of these psych drugs. So, it's mostly the withdrawals. Once they stop, they taper off, because stopping cold turkey is really harmful. In fact, it can be fatal. That's how powerful these drugs are, these psychiatric medications, which I've said before should not be used. Ultimately, they're harmful. Now, there are people who take these, and I've known friends of mine, when I say that these drugs are harmful and they've been on them, they don't want to get off them because they love their drugs. They love the fact that they're a bit high, feeling no pain, and a little bit giddy. It's like being intoxicated. So they like the feeling of being intoxicated. The thing is that I was reaching out to the group of friends that I did know in my 30s, and I'm finding that an awful lot of those people who were drugged when I was drugged, or even when I had stopped, and I still kind of had to rely on services that surrounded that community, like, free bags of food and things like that. Well, so many of them have died. And there was one young woman who was a close friend of mine for quite some time, and I'm trying to find out if she actually died. I was informed by someone that she had died, so I reached out to this group called Amitié Friendship, and the Bénévoles, volunteers. It's an association where this woman, Dorotha, in Montreal, she had been a nurse, and she had this vision of establishing a residence where these people who were mentally ill could be supervised and could be given perks and quirks and all kinds of things that would be well received. So yeah, she protects these people, and the thing is that I don't even think Dorotha knows that the people who are called mentally ill are mentally ill because of the drugs. And I swear by God that these psych drugs make you psycho. they make you crazy. They will definitely make you impulsive and say things that are better left not said. And the things, it's just bad behavior. Let's put it that way. Crazy, bad, sick behavior. And it's the psych drugs that make them sick and psycho. So, and also when you're on these drugs and you're older, excuse me, you get dehydrated faster. You get, if you're, say, in your 70s and you're on a lot of these psychiatric medications, which a lot of seniors are, they're, once they're given one drug, they're usually given another drug, and then another drug, and then another drug. That's how it works. And they suffer in the heat. Now, there was one fella who was, I found out in my friendship with him, was about 65 or something like that when I was in my 50s. I am in my 50s. What am I talking about? Maybe in my, no, not even in my 50s. It was my 40s. And he was in his 60s, and we sort of got close, and soon enough I found out that he was on 17 different kinds of medication. This is what they're giving to seniors, people in their 60s, they're like, oh, here, I've got my Dosset, and I've got all my pills. And the old man I care for now, this man that I make suppers for, is 92 years old now. And he's the one in, rapid decline, okay? Very rapid decline, unfortunately. He has a sister-in-law, and this sister of his deceased wife is under the public curator and installed in some kind of a care home or clinic or some kind of a hospital like atmosphere, and he will get on the phone with her, and you can tell she loves her drugs, plus she sounds like she's intoxicated. She's drunk on these drugs and she's happy. But her kids won't come and see her. I mean, she's just too deliriously happy. And doesn't know what she's being given, doesn't know the names of the drugs. She just gets them given to her, and they're all psychiatric drugs, and she's under the public curator. And a lot of these seniors are under the public curator because of these psych drugs that are making them tipsy and a little bit of, what do you say, what are pleasant words for this sort of thing? Come on, they're crazy. They just come out with the craziest behaviors, and like someone who's drunk and who just says whatever comes to mind. And well, I did come off the public curator, and in making efforts to do so, I by happenstance, by chance, I was able to find a lawyer. In my life, it's very much like I'll think of something I need, and then days later, the the lawyer shows up, a lawyer shows up. So this lawyer did help me get off the public curator, but it was really, as the psych team had said to me, because I was more self-reliant. And I had proven that I could look after myself. I vote in elections, all right? So this label of schizophrenia, right? It can't apply. Plus, I got myself off the public curator. So, can a schizophrenic get themselves off the public curator? I don't know. But someone who is free of these drugs can get themselves off the public curator. This lawyer calls himself, I guess he's got a couple of helpers, the Surveillance Curatelle. And he tries to expose the corruption of the public curator. But he's got all kinds of files on seniors who are under the public curator, and he makes sure that he watches over them so that the public curator can't get away with too much. But I said to him many years ago, if you want people to come off the public curator, if you want these seniors to get off the public curator, get them off, they need to come off their drugs. When I said that, he looked at me like, I had two heads. So, but that's the truth of it, is that these psych drugs are causing these behaviors, these abnormal, aberrant behaviors, and cognitive losses, which make them a bit loopy so that they can be taken advantage of by other people. So in my 30s, that's what happened. I couldn't see what was around me, and I was a sitting duck for all kinds of thieves, including family, who, laid in wait just to. So I felt almost like I was set up, actually, that this was a long-term plan that was put in place to get whatever valuables I had. So for herself, but there's no way that she could have known that psychiatric medications cause you to become brainless, zombie, loopy. You dress in all kinds of strange get-ups, usually very revealing get-ups. Another way to find out if someone is on psych drugs is usually they're not wearing much. They tend to be over sexualized and want to party. Oh yeah, that's another thing that was within my 30s. There was this group called the Dual Diagnosis Group. So people who are on psych drugs also do street drugs. They, mix the two, self-medicating, and that could also make them really lose it, become murderously violent, and so it's a bad mix. So what I did know is that some of the people in dual diagnosis were drunks, and but they were also intoxicated on these other drugs, like what was it back then? There was Risperidol, there was Seroquel, there was Epival, there was all kinds of drugs like that. But now they have the newer ones, and oh gosh, I have no basis, no reference except for the older drugs. They are similar, but I swear, by God again, that these newer drugs are more harmful than ever. The older drugs, what they started with, were really, really harmful. This guy named Peter Lehman, I think his name was. He was at the Douglas Mental Hospital, and for some reason it's attributed to him, this drug called chlorpromazine. It was a chemical lobotomy, and it was back in actually I think the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. They were doing lobotomies with those ice picks, and using these chemicals are basically another way to corrupt the frontal lobes. When you don't have frontal lobes, you don't have your power to reason. So when I came off the psych drugs, and I endured those very painful, very terrible withdrawals that lasted 5 years, up until, let's say, about 2006. And in 2007 I got off the public curator. And that's one thing I wanted to clear up too, is that when I was under the public curator, they would not allow me to divorce. I didn't have the power to divorce my second husband at all. It was just like, it was, no, we're not going to allow you to do that. I don't know how they could get away with that, but, since I didn't have money and they had all my money. And when they finished with me, they gave me a check of about $1,000. Now, how is it possible that they spent $30,000? Well, they spread it out with all the other people that were under their charge, under the public curator, so that's where it went. That's what they think, that they do really well, is they spread it out for all the needy. So they take people's inheritances and just dole it out wherever they feel it's needed, or else, and it's very possible that they treat themselves, because this lawyer who did help me get off the public curator, he told me about a woman who had a lot of money, and that's true too, is that the public curator is like a vulture hovering over the city of Montreal and spying to see which seniors have a lot of money, and then they pounce, and then they want to clap them down under the public curator. They're out for the money, and we're talking lots of money. So there was one woman that this lawyer got out from under the curator, had the curatelle removed from her, which is called a main levée, or maybe not for her, but definitely she got her power of attorney back. But she lost the apartment building that she owned. So that was a ton of money. And this one agent who was on her file used that money to flee the country and buy an island somewhere in the Caribbean. So you do get corrupt officials. Oh my goodness. Where do you get one that is actually honest? I don't know. But I've had some really hard-won fights. And I think that I've done all my fighting the hard way. From now on, I keep the faith. So what I want to get back to is that I lost an awful lot in my 30s on those psych drugs, but I have really good boundaries since. Um, there are no thieves. There's no one who's taking anything from me. In fact, good things keep on coming to me, and this might seem unbelievable to some people, but if you practice the law of attraction, um, you might understand this. So whimsically, I'm thinking, boy, God, I'm going to need some bookcases. And bookcases, well, they were provided for me. And someone could say, well, you're living in a seniors building, which I am for now, next to this senior man who is 34 years older than myself. You'll have people who die and they'll leave their stuff. Well, that's how I got my bookcases, yes. But it's just interesting for me that, things keep coming in now. I lost before, but lots of stuff keep coming in now. And I don't lose anything. No one's taking anything from me. So I'm building up my life again because I don't have those psych drugs in me, which were making me a sitting duck for thieves. And that's what happens when you're on psych drugs. You will be prey to anybody who wants your stuff, and you won't see it's gone until it's gone. And where did it go? So you're brainless. Basically, you're brainless. You're a zombie. You're foolish. You're ridiculed. You're laughed at. If you're called something by a psychiatrist, you're ridiculed. That's just the way it is. It's never going to change. There are people who are going to want to be compassionate to others, but it's amazing to me that nobody has really caught on in the mainstream to realize that a lot of the suicides and even homicides that these so-called mentally ill people have committed is completely due to the chemicals that they ingested. But I think there is going to be a time, because what has happened is that Big Pharma has made it so that much of the population is medicated on these drugs, and I've learned, as well as others of my friends on Facebook, that they're giving antidepressants to babies, to infants, to 1-year-olds. Now, why would you do that? Well, there is a kind of agenda to dumb down the population, and you can really dumb down a population and, run circles around them as a governing body by making them apathetic. And we've got the TV, or we've got our screens on our computers, on our phones, and we are being dumbed down. And the psych drugs is the best way to dumb someone down. They're dumb, they're foolish, they're loopy, and I think it's a bit scary for them too, because once they get one drug, they get another drug, and then another drug. I'm talking about this 65-year-old who was a friend of mine I got close to, who was on 17 different medications. He didn't start out like that. I won't get into the details around that, but I mean, that's an awful lot of pills for one person to be taking. And it's possible that he was on more prescriptions than just 17. Just 17. My God, that's a lot. And there are people who are on more than that. I've heard 25 different pills for some people. So this fella who was on 17 different kinds of medication, psychiatric medication, because he said his problem was obsessive compulsive disorder. And you'll notice when you've got someone you're talking to, they will see you from their point of reference and think that you have their disorder or you're like them. Well, because you're getting along, you're talking, and so on. Well, people come into your life for a reason or a season or a lifetime. And I'm an Aries who's basically had 4 lifetimes in one. I've been very adventuresome. I'm still adventuresome. I like meeting new people, but it's true that the people I meet, more often than not, they're medicated. Someone saying, oh, I feel so much better now, I've got this antidepressant. Good luck to you on that, because it won't be your friend forever. It will actually be a detriment to you, and you'll get to notice it and see it, and then when you want to come off it, because it's causing you cognitive impairment, it will bite you or sting you like a scorpion. It's a very vicious situation. The physical pain coming off these psych drugs is far worse than coming off, as I've said before, heroin. And I think enough of us know that it's never easy to watch someone coming off heroin. I've never seen it myself in my own life, but and in fact, I've never seen anybody in my own life withdraw from psych drugs aside from myself. And I mean, it's very subjective. I know exactly what it's like because I'm on the inside of it, and I know exactly what it's like to have spinal damage. While I'm sitting here, I'm rolling my fingers, because you'll notice anybody who's got spinal damage, usually they roll their thumb and forefingers. That's a sign of spinal damage. I did see on television one time, it was a political channel, and there were these 2 people who were in Ottawa and talking to the news anchor, and one of them was rolling their thumb and forefinger together rather rapidly. So, and quite a while ago, I did have a beau who was kind of like me. I was thinner at the time. When you get older, you do pack on the pounds. But, I've got injuries, sort of like Goering, I guess. Not that I'm on morphine or anything, but when you're in pain, you get big. Anyway, this guy was big. In his 20s, he went through the windshield of a car in an accident, and he wound up in Montreal at the Royal Victoria Hospital, the neurological wing, and it was in the 60s. Um, I think he was in his 20s, and it was around 1960, 61 or 62 or 63. He was in Ontario, and he was driving with a girlfriend, or the girlfriend was driving. Anyway, they plowed into something, and I don't know if she survived, but I know that he went right through the windshield, and you could tell he had spinal damage. And in fact, his physique was like his, from his head to his shoulders. He had not slumped, but thinned out shoulders, like a torpedo almost. And he never could turn around or twist around because he had spinal damage. But he never got help for that. And one of the things is that, and one of the reasons why he didn't really get help for that, like a chiropractor or somebody to get his skeleton back, his posture back, his flexibility back, was because when he was at the neurological hospital, they threatened him with a lobotomy, and he ran out of there. He escaped before they could do that to him. So yeah, he was... So the accident was in Ontario, where he went through the windshield of a car. He came to Montreal to the neurological, and was it Dr. Penfield? Anyway, and they were doing lobotomies with the ice pick around that time. He was in that wing with some other people who were also men who had had accidents, I guess cars, motorbikes, or whatever. And this particular man was having seizures and blacking out and becoming very vocal about thinking that he was a World War I or World War II fighter pilot, and that he was crashing to the ground, and so he was like having flashbacks to a past life or something like that. Anyway, they wanted to lobotomize him, so he from that time forward, he didn't trust a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a doctor or a neurologist. He just didn't want to have anything to do with that. And so, pretty brave guy. He made himself some work as a journalist, and he had dyslexia, which was his problem. His job was words, and his problem was words. You kind of find that in a lot of people. They choose a profession where they have a problem. Become a psychologist because you've got some psychological problems. Yeah. There's a fascination with the psychology. You become a psychologist, but you've got all these obvious to other people kind of wacky ways. So yeah, it was very brave of him to eschew all medicine and just run from it, but ultimately he should have gotten help, because his heart failed him. Yeah, well, our modern medicine is changing, isn't it? You've got Donna Eden's energy medicine, which is catching on. You've got Mind Valley, which is showing an awful lot of really good alternative ways of advancing humanity to self-heal and not need. Well, do we really need to be cut open? Do we really need to have something removed surgically? Do we really need to have a pill for this, that, and the other thing? Or maybe we need to get in tune with our bodies, straighten our postures, meditate, learn to meditate, learn to do different practices like Tai Chi or I don't know, Pilates or reflexology, or there are all kinds of other ways. And nutrition. Now, that's a challenge because our food supply is controlled by people who don't really have our interests at heart, you know. But we'll see. We'll see more of a movement towards saving humanity and rescuing the planet. And we do have threats to humanity, but we can take our own power back by realizing our own power. And I think meditation is very powerful to do that. When you're able to get to a certain frequency or vibration or a wave within your own body, like an alpha state or a theta state, we kind of function in a beta state, but in an alpha state, your body heals. In a theta state, your body definitely is enhanced and takes on healing energies. So you can maybe transfer that to other people to help them heal as well. But giving people pills, and I call it pillifying, pillifying and zombifying, that's what I call it. And I've been told, that's not a word. Well, I coined these words. They're mine. I coined them. Pillifying, you can use it. Zombifying, you can use it. That's what's happening. You'll see that people are eating junk food and taking antidepressants and, in the United States, it's like I don't know how you guys live in the United States, but then again, we're not much better, really. We're all mind controlled here, too. We vote and we elect a prime minister, and we don't like him, and we put him out and elect a new prime minister, and this prime minister just carries on with the same type of agenda. Now, I don't know why a lot of us don't catch on to that, Our votes really don't count. It doesn't matter. It's all a coronation anyway. How can we really know that our votes do count? A lot of what's going on is just the New World Order tactics. We could talk about that. George Bush Sr. did say back in the 1990s about a New World Order. And of course, in the 1930s, Hitler talked about a new world order, and the information I have is that before that, there was someone else a long time ago in Rome. Nero was talking about a new world order, and these people think that this new world order is a one world order, and that would mean that it's one tyrant at the top who controls everything. Well, it looks like a bit of a mixed bag, but this AI, artificial intelligence, that is seeping in slowly with, the ease that we find with Siri or Alexa or what is it? Videotron is putting out something Helion, or I can't see the word in front of me right now, but I do have a photographic memory. I do have a strong, good memory. In fact, one psychiatric nurse who was being my therapist, in that time I was polydrugged and then also coming off those drugs. She said that I have a memory like a steel trap. And I do have a friend of mine who is an author, whom I love dearly, and who wants me to talk about the early days of my family living in Montreal. And I could talk to that because it really did form the basis for what has become our lives as adults. So I'm the youngest of 4 children, and that would be, I have 2 half-brothers from our father's first marriage. So all 4 kids are from our father, but the 2 boys are from one wife, his first wife, and the 2 girls are from his second wife, my mom. And he did marry a 3rd time, but he adopted. He didn't sire any children, but he did marry a 3rd time. And our early days in the 1960s, because I was born in 1962. My sister was born in 1960. Our brothers were born in the 50s. I think our eldest brother was born in 1956 or 54. Yeah, 54, I think that's what it was. Look, I'm not getting it from any people or voices, talking at me. It's all coming from my own figuring out, my own calculations. I made 54, and then the other brother was born in 1956, and I look at my image now on this screen, and I'm the one who looks the most like Dad. So, Mom always said, eventually you're going to look like your dad, and that's what I can see myself, and I see my dad. I'm the one who looks like the most like my dad. yeah, I can see Keith's face in my face with these glasses on and this hat, you know. Like, he has a self-portrait. I own it, the self-portrait. That was nice, you know. One thing I got that they didn't get. I got my dad's self-portrait. Well, I wanted it. And he was a good artist, portrait artist, and the resemblance is clear between the two of us. Yeah, I love that painting, but I haven't unpacked it. Still hoping to move. Anyway, the 4 kids, it was very interesting, very strange, and most likely something took place with us 4 kids. And the evidence is our adult lives, but the evidence is also there from when we were young. There are certain memories and certain marks that can indicate that something was going on where Mom and Dad were getting money from someplace to have us 4 kids involved in the complicity of the Canadian government and McGill University health centers and the hospitals to find ways during that Cold War time to mind control people. And that was called MK Ultra. And I swear that I know this memory when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I think I was 4, but I could have been 5. At the breakfast table on a Saturday morning, sitting across this large kitchen table in the kitchen from my sister, and my sister sat against the corner wall where the hanging ivy plant was, and the little window for the kitchen, and the rolling dishwasher that I think it came then, or maybe it wasn't there when we were our consecutive ages. So let's say I was 5 and she was 7, but I think she was younger than that. I think she was 6. So if she was 6, I was 4. Because there's 2 years between us, a year and 11 months. So this one morning, we made our breakfasts for ourselves because, well, we knew how to do that, and we left our parents, Mom and Dad, Keith and Martha, up in their bedroom with their lock on their door to not be disturbed on a Saturday morning, and we got our own food. And I do believe that we'd been out as a family to Montreal. We'd gone across the Mercier Bridge, and we'd come back home, and I'd wake up in the driveway, or I'd wake up in my bed. So the Saturday morning, so the Friday night, we'd go out to downtown, and we'd have a meal in a restaurant, and whatever else happened after that. And whatever else happened after that was highly suspicious, because the morning when she and I got our cereals and she was sitting where she was, I was watching her, and she had one of Dad's razor blades, the old type razor blades from the 1960s, because this was the 1960s, on her tongue, in her mouth. This little girl was rolling this razor blade on her tongue, and it frightened me terribly, alarmed me terribly, and I said, "Get that out of your mouth, because you could die." And it was really sharp, so she's left-handed, and she took it out of her mouth like this and sliced off the tip of her little finger. So there's a mark where that finger was, put back on by the doctor that Mom and Dad went to, because when it happened, I ran upstairs and pounded on their bedroom door, and they came down, and I remember what was said to me when they got back was, it was Mom who said it. The doctor said, she's young enough that even if she had lost the tip of her finger, it would have grown back, like a salamander. When you're young, apparently you can do that. Well, I don't know if the doctor is accurate on that, but he did save the little finger. But, there's a slice there all the way around on her finger. Now, she looked at that. She would maybe have a flashback, or maybe she just denies it outright. But the only thing that I, as an adult, can see is that, and I've got memories that make that more solid in my mind, that that's what that was LSD. LSD. So where did my sister get the LSD? Where did I get the visions of pink elephants as a child? Something was going on. So I have to say this. There are 4 kids. Dad's 2 boys from his first marriage, my sister and myself. Dad's eldest boy is a pedophile. He's 8 years older than me, so you do the math. I'm 58. He's 8 years older than I am. He's a pedophile. His younger brother, our older brother, born in 1956, is obsessed with my sister. My sister's a Mormon. She's a Mormon. And she got me involved with the Mormons after my accident, after I was getting drugged by this psychiatrist. So I have since said, I was with the Mormons, but I wasn't in my right mind at the time. And now I know I've come out of it. And I sent them a letter in 2002 saying remove my name from the membership list. But, there's been a few attempts to kind of reconcile, but it ended, for sure. Excuse me, in 2011, December 28th, 2011. My sister said our youngest half-brother was in town, and he'd like to see you. And when I saw them, it didn't go well, and they didn't realize how much pain I was in. And I was saying that it was wrong that my sister had put me under the curator. And they couldn't possibly know. No, this was 2011. I'm in 2020, and I'm still in pain. So I was really flattened, crushed, deformed. I had I had a dowager's hump on my back. I'm trying to fix that. I do have a dip in my thigh where it's my left leg where I'm trying to move that out with yoga poses. So I was in a lot of pain when I met them, and we sat down and started talking, and they were stressing me, and all I could think was, I just don't want to see you guys anymore. And I was being accused of stuff. And my half-brother left with my sister, who was in tears. Anyway, I left the Mormons, and she's got lots of kids who she raised in the Mormon church. And the one thing about leaving the Mormon church, this is the kind of Christian attitude they have. Her offspring look at me with utter contempt because I left their church. And I would say that a lot of what is throughout my family is a lot of misinformation about me. The accurate information is that I was misdiagnosed. Those pills caused me behavioral changes, personality changes. Can you imagine? You can change someone's personality by giving them chemicals, pills, prescriptions, certified, ratified, legal, and these prescriptions, which are, by rote, basically. Oh, this will help you, And this idea of a chemical imbalance, it's a myth. There's no blood test for it. It's an opinion. And in fact, every single diagnosis they have in the diagnostic manual, stemming from way back, DSM-1, DSM-2, now they're on the DSM-5, which is like thicker than a phone book. Every single one of those thought up disorders, psychiatric disorders, was based on the idea, well, there's a new drug, so let's find a disorder for this drug so that we can give this drug to someone. Because if you look in your world, you'll see that the pharmaceutical companies have an awful lot of power because the governments allow it. And why do the governments allow it? Because it controls the population. It lets them get away with things because people are popping their pills and they're apathetic about repairing the roads or something. But people seem to be waking up. But we do have a mass of people who are going to want to come off these drugs, and when they find that it's too hard to endure the withdrawals and they get reinstated or whatever, it's a bit of a mixed bag. But the people who are determined to get off those drugs are going to have to find the determination and fortitude within themselves, because the medical community won't help them. They don't know They don't know why these drugs do what they do, nor do they know the long-term effects of withdrawal off these drugs. I'm actually quoting somebody. And when I quoted that to my new doctor, he said, well, that applies to every single drug. We don't know why it does what it does. Wow. Wow. Why should we be on drugs anyway? There are people who may have benefited, and there are people who will swear by their regimen of pills that they need. And yet, this, what I'm pointing to is the drugs that are used within one community of people. And these are the so-called mentally ill. Somebody might have a psychotic break, but stemming from, I don't know, something organic maybe, but if you don't medicate that person, they heal faster and that thing goes away. It goes away faster. But if you medicate that person, they get worse and worse and worse, and it's a bad prognosis, and it's early death. Maybe I'm going all over the place again, and I don't know how much time I'm taking, and I'm trying to see the time, but I can't. So there's a lot I could say about psych drugs and why they're being used, and how, in fact, they're being used as part of mind controlling the population, dumbing them down. And dumbing people down, you can get away with an awful lot. You can spend the taxpayers' money on a pipeline, perhaps like $40 billion, taxpayers' money, and taxpayers won't cry out because, well, they're dumbed down, aren't they? Oh, and the people who are awake to it are just a smattering of a few, and a smattering of a few able-bodied people, because an awful lot of people who were put on these drugs are actually debilitated still after having stopped these drugs. That's how powerful these drugs are. So you won't have them as able-bodied people. So you have a smattering of able-bodied people protesting this purchase of a pipeline, but it'll soon go away, What can you do? My feet are getting numb, so maybe I should stop. I don't even know if I'll put this online, but maybe I will. Who knows? Did I get to the topics I wanted to? Let me just say this. Something happened to us as kids that made us what we are today, and that something that happened to us as kids was likely the MK Ultra program in Montreal. Someone within the sphere of our parents' workplaces. Dad worked for Canadian National Railways, and Mom worked for the Protestant School Board of Greater Montreal. And in the 1960s, there'd be a lot of people hovering around there going, you know what, you can get money if you put your kids in this. You can get money, lots of money, good, big money. You're a nice young family, and you'll get paid. Especially if you've got 4 kids, you get a lot of money. You can buy a new house. You can buy a house. you know, you're just a young couple starting off in your 30s, and you got 4 kids to look after. This money could really come in handy. Not only that, there's something that Mom said to me one time, that when I was really loved by Mom. Obviously not when she died. She was very disappointed. I mean, I'd gone crazy, right? Not only crazy, but bad crazy, evil, whatever. But as a child, I was the apple of her eye. And she said that someone had offered to buy me from her for $1,000. And she said, no, no way. So where was she in a milieu, in a situation where she would be met with the opportunity to have someone say that to her? Where was she when that was actually okay to say to a mother with a child, like a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old? I'd like to give you $1,000 for your child. What kind of an environment is that where that can be said or asked, right? So, yeah. MK Ultra might be involved, but LSD definitely happened in, that one day for sure. But I think it happened more often than that. LSD given to kids. What happens? One becomes a Mormon and can't get out of it. Still believes in this Joseph Smith con. Anyway, it's a bunch of hooey. It's been proven that it's a bunch of hooey. But, they won't listen to it. They're so brainwashed. Mind control. The Mormons do an awful lot of that. The thing about that is, boy, you can delve deep into that and find some sinister stuff. So you got the eldest son, a pedophile. The second eldest son, I'm sorry, but the most shallow human being I have ever met in my life. And then my sister's a Mormon. And then what happened to me? So, what's next for me? God's got something great for me. There is a God. There is a Creator. He lives. He's real. He's in each and every created being. Animals, people, plants, nothing exists without source. So once we, like Wayne Dyer, Wayne W. Dyer, he often said that connecting to source brings in the miracles. So source is within us. That divine spark is in us. I do think that there are some people who do incarnate and they're soulless. And they're just here to provoke us and do evil stuff. But I make allowance that could be the case, because I've lived long enough to see stuff in my life, and I'm sure others who watch this have seen stuff that is, yeah, they're open to that might be the case. But we do enhance our lives by connecting to Source. Was that old Baptist hymn, turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow something dim in the light of his glory and grace. I'll stop here. I have a lot more to say,